How is it GE still stays cozy with the White House when it flagrantly ignores the White House? The company the International Business Times called, and I quote here, the Jedi master of avoiding U.S. taxation, increased its tax-free foreign holding to $108 billion last year from $94 billion the year before. Gee, and get this, it's not just GE. From Microsoft and Apple to Google and Avant Energy, so many more. A record number of U.S.-based non-financial companies parking dough abroad, largely to escape the tax man here. All perfectly legal, but that doesn't make it any less profoundly staggering. Because according to the Wall Street Journal, 60 of the country's largest non-financial firms kept more than $160 billion outside the U.S., representing total overseas earnings of north of $1.3 trillion. And the IRS figures the situation is even worse than that the total amount of liquid assets held abroad might be north of $5.1 trillion. Or put another way, for every dollar a U.S. company held inside the country, it held $3 outside the country. Katie, what do you think?
Well, I think that we haven't realized yet here in Washington, D.C., that these companies cannot compete on a global level with the current tax system that we have. And we hear a lot of people, while they're out campaigning, talking about the need to reform the tax code, lower that corporate tax rate, which is the highest in the world in the United States. But yet we really haven't seen anything put on the table when it comes to reforming that system, bringing the liquidity from overseas back and invested in the United States for growth. And that way...
That might be so, but Michael, they were doing this before that tax rate jumped. So what's going on here?
This is not new news. I mean, I think that the fear amongst both parties is that if this money comes pouring into the United States, it's going to send our dollar skyrocketing. And what is the Keynesian fear more than anything, besides deflation? It's a rising dollar. Imagine that's what's going to do to corporate earnings.
But we need those dollars. Right?
I would agree with you, but my question is this. Does anybody in Washington care about, A, cutting spending or corporate tax reform? Because if they did, why has it not happened yet?
So better to keep the money over there?
Well, a lot of this money is piling up in offshore tax havens where the tax rate is basically zero. So lowering the corporate tax rate here...
Well, to be fair, a lot of it's in Europe where tax rates are pretty competitive with ours. But since their operations are there, they're aligning their money there.
Well, a huge amount of it is also in these tax havens. And, you know, here's the thing. The reason so much cash is piling up overseas is because we have tax deferral. Corporations don't have to pay taxes on their profits as long as it's kept overseas. Get rid of tax deferral. Make them pay taxes now on their profits. We won't have this problem.
Isn't that where they want the money, though? These corporations want their money overseas where the growth is, right? Mm-hmm. Where the consumers are better in position to handle the debt situation that they have.
Well, in part, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, Katie, I could flip it around and say the one industry that's keeping its money largely here and getting taxed through the schnooker here is the oil industry. Now, they make a lot of money, but they're the only industry that pays at or close to the top rate of now north of 39%. No one, of course, you know, gives them a pat on the fanny, maybe a kick in the fanny. But I'm just wondering about the mixed messages that sends.
Well, I would say that it's a little ironic that the Obama administration is always demonizing the oil companies who are actually paying that almost 40% corporate tax rate here in the United States and providing good, decent, and well-paying engineering jobs.
But this is accelerating, right?
Exactly, but we have
is that a word?
Companies like General Electric staying overseas and not bringing those jobs back home.
True.
So
I have so many worries on my list. This is probably down on the ladder.
This is down on. All right. Are you worried about this? Because it's money that you could spend.
You look, I mean, the big problem is corporate tax revenue used to make up a pretty sizable slice of all federal revenue. Now corporations are paying very low taxes by historical standards. Individuals are picking up the piece, picking up the difference here.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Neil,
I'm sorry, Katie, we're going to go to a quick break here, pay our bills, even though Washington can't.